The Chula Vista Church by Michael Juan Nguyen, SVD. In the December of an unexpected snowfall, the desert town of Chula Vista found itself blanketed in a thick layer of snow, an unusual sight for this arid region. The parishioners of Chula Vista Church shared a common lament. "My goodness, this is unbelievable, so unexpected." Whenever they crossed paths, whether in public or at home, the members of the Chula Vista Church could be heard expressing the same monotonous complaint, akin to the relentless blare of an alarm clock each morning, repeating tit-tit-tit. The influx of snow was wreaking havoc on their town, driving away tourists who had come to escape the wintry conditions in North America and Europe. The local economy, heavily reliant on winter tourism, was on the brink of collapse due to the unexpected snowfall. One couldn't help but ponder the irony of this situation. Why manufacture so many automobiles? People mindlessly fueled their cars with gasoline and diesel, much like quenching the thirst of a parched individual. This rampant consumption was contributing to the gray skies and the climate change crisis. "What? What did you say?" one parishioner queried. "Are you hard of hearing? I'm talking about global warming. If you don't believe me, climb up the church bell tower and see for yourself. San Diego skies are clouded with smog. Living there, you can hardly see a human face." "Climate change? So what?" another retorted. "Unbelievable. Don't you read the newspapers or listen to the radio? No wonder you seem so uninformed, just like the Tijuana girls who just crossed the border. Consider this. Chula Vista and San Diego had never seen a single snowflake before. But now, look at San Diego. The roads are covered in snow." Despite their ceaseless complaints, the snow continued to fall relentlessly, 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. It draped a snowy veil over the Chula Vista Church's bell tower, which stood tall and unwavering. Father Juan, a gaunt, slender figure, tirelessly wielded a shovel from Home Depot to clear the accumulating snow in the vast church parking lot. A compassionate Mexican parishioner passing by voiced his concern. "Padre, why don't you ask the maintenance worker to handle this?" Father Juan, his eyes obscured by thick glasses, straightened his posture. Almost breathless, he replied, "Who?" With a sigh, he continued, "Perhaps, if you're interested, you can visit the parish office to discuss a contract. The church would certainly compensate you." The young man offered a polite smile before walking away, but something made him halt in his tracks. "Padre, how much is the hourly pay?" Father Juan hesitated. "Well, perhaps just the minimum wage." Observing Father Juan, as slender as a solitary homeless flamingo, and the church with its weather-worn red roof tiles, the young man reluctantly said, "Gracias," before walking away. The Reverend Mother, of British descent and principal of an elementary school nearby, stopped by the rectory and addressed the priest in a brusque tone. "Father, please, just shovel the snow once a day. Why overexert yourself doing it 4 times daily?" Father Juan remained silent, focusing on his sandwich crafted from stale pink ham, wilted lettuce, overripe red tomatoes, and dry yellow cheese. Sympathy welled up in one person who remarked, "What a hard life, akin to a mendicant Franciscan monk." Another individual accused him, "What a pretentious man." I'm Vietnamese, and Father Juan and I lived in the same neighborhood in Little Saigon. We even attended the same high school. I can tell you about his past. This guy used to be quite the player with American and Mexican women. I hadn't heard about him in ages, and now he's here as the parish priest. What a topsy-turvy world. A whisper emerged. What a hypocrite! It's the year 2000, for goodness sake. Open your eyes. Many priests switch cars every year, but this guy pedals on an old bicycle. Talk about being peculiar. One even claimed, You're absolutely right. One night, I swear, I heard a woman's voice in the rectory. This led to a sharp rebuke from another. Don't talk nonsense. Nonsense? I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. Just last week, I was walking my dog. For no apparent reason, the dog was jumping up and down, heading straight for the rectory's backyard. That's how I witnessed it. Did you see it yourself? That wasn't necessary. I was standing by the backyard fence and clearly heard hushed voices from the kitchen. Oh my, it was undoubtedly a woman's voice. The snowfall persisted, yet it failed to erase the border between Chula Vista and Tijuana. For a while, illegal immigrants from South America had flocked to the border town of Tijuana, Mexico, hoping for a chance to cross into the promised land by cutting through barbed wire fence. Seeking refuge in Tijuana, young women facing financial hardships resorted to selling their bodies to tourists. Strong young men who managed to cross the border took treacherous, unnamed routes to Los Angeles, working as waiters in Chinese restaurants or as laborers for Vietnamese landscaping contractors. If luck favored them, for many were pursued and shot by the police. In America, a civilized nation, after shooting illegal immigrants in the feet, the police would call for ambulances to transport them to hospitals for medical treatment, even hiring certified interpreters to handle legal matters. Nevertheless, once their foot wounds healed, the illegal immigrants would be transported back across the border the following day, sirens blaring from police cars. The captain of the border fort pointed at a man writhing in pain due to a leg wound from a bullet, stating with uncertainty, "It's him! It must be him!" He rolled up the man's tattered jeans to reveal a fresh scar from a gunshot wound, evidently caused by the same rifle. Due to the snow, the captain had slipped and fallen while pursuing illegal immigrants, only to regain his footing and to use a flashlight to examine footprints etched into the thick snow in the church's parking lot. He knocked on the rectory door, and Father Juan appeared, coughing incessantly like a pneumonia patient. The captain, of Irish descent and a devout Catholic, removed his police cap and nervously greeted, "Hello, Father." Father Juan sidestepped from the doorway. "Hello, Captain. Please, come in for a cup of Starbucks mocha coffee." Observing the situation carefully, the captain courteously inclined his head. "Thank you, Father, but I'm on duty. Perhaps another time." As the parish priest looked at the captain's departing figure, he was still visible through the window. The captain's thoughts lingered, and he made the sign of a cross before silently returning to the border fort. Another time, while pursuing illegal immigrants, he noticed a trail of blood leading under the rectory's door. The captain was torn. As a faithful Catholic from a long line of believers, he hesitated to confront a priest. But what about the illegal immigrants? The evidence of their presence was clearly imprinted in the front of the door. The captain almost ventured past the rectory's threshold for a cup of Starbucks mocha coffee, but thought better of it, recalling Father Juan's cassock and white collar. The idea was ultimately abandoned. However, the lieutenant, the deputy of the border fort, was not so easily dissuaded. A Lutheran by faith, he pounded on the door at midnight, demanding Father Juan lead him through every corner of the rectory. He even asked the parish priest to unlock the church, taking him up to the sanctuary to investigate behind the altar and under the tabernacle. Tonight, December 24th, Christmas Eve, the Chula Vista Church continued its 200-year-old tradition of holding midnight Christmas vigil. At 6 o'clock, Father Juan opened the church doors, satisfied that everything was in readiness for the midnight mass. Whistling a Christmas carol tune, he donned a warm jacket. Surveying the slippery, snow-covered streets, he decided to forego his bicycle, choosing instead to walk to a Korean grocery store to purchase a box of Nongshim spicy noodles. On his way home, he made a detour to Starbucks to acquire some high-quality mocha coffee. A chance encounter awaited him just outside the coffee shop, an unidentified woman. Father Juan recognized her as a young South American girl, perhaps 17 or 18 years old. The late winter afternoon had darkened her brown skin and her large eyes. The air was tainted with a scent of a cheap fragrance. With a heavy English accent, the girl greeted him, "Hi." Meeting her gaze, Father Juan nodded and returned the greeting, "Hi." The girl lowered her head, indicating the lower part of her upper body, and spoke with determination, $40? The man caught his breath, his heart racing. Doop, doop. Swiftly, he turned around and quickened his pace. However, the girl pursued him, pointing to her tightly round breast. $20? He remained focused on his stride, but the girl persistently chased after him. 10, just 10. It's a great deal. Under the shelter of a palm tree, casting a shadow over his face, he gradually slowed down. Breathing heavily, he removed his gloves and slipped his hands into his pockets. The girl stood still, patiently awaiting his response. Finally, he produced a $10 bill from his pocket. Taking the bill from his hand, the girl lowered her head and slowly undid the top buttons of her sweater. When she raised her head again, she was startled to find the man almost vanished into the twilight of a snowy Christmas night. Returning to the church, Father Juan noticed a man standing by the rectory's door. He raised an eyebrow, squinting in recognition. It was the young Mexican man who had previously inquired about the maintenance job's salary at Chula Vista Church. "Please, come inside for a cup of mocha coffee," Father Juan offered. The young man shook his head. "Padre, please just give me the snow shovel." Father Juan smiled. "I told you before, the church can only afford to pay minimum wages." The young man shook his head multiple times, rubbing his hands, intertwining his fingers, and then scratching his head. "I just spoke to the Reverend Mother. She mentioned that you shovel snow 4 times a day, and that's why you've fallen ill with pneumonia, coughing incessantly. She even told me—" He stopped abruptly in the middle of his sentence, swallowed hard, and turned his gaze toward the border fort, illuminated by numerous floodlights. Father Juan's expression grew serious. He said nothing, simply heading into the rectory. The young man was left by the door, holding the snow shovel. He started clearing the thick snow layer from the parking lot. A faint smile played on his lips. "Well, we have to clear the snow so that those attending the midnight mass won't stumble," he remarked softly. There was a knock at the door, and Father Juan, his chest aching from coughing, opened it. It was the Reverend Mother. bearing several bags of premium Starbucks mocha coffee. "Merry Christmas! I've come for a visit and to deliver my Christmas gifts," she said with joy. The parish priest looked at her with a raised brow. "Why Starbucks coffee?" The Reverend Mother responded promptly, "Why not? Father, you don't have to buy expensive coffee for your guest. We wouldn't want people to gossip saying it's the 21st century, but our parish priest still lives an old-fashioned life. Nevertheless, it's your choice. While I may disagree with your interpretation of the vow of poverty, I still support you." With that, the Reverend Mother stood to leave, but changed her mind, settling back into the chair. "I apologize if my words offend you. It doesn't mean that by selling your car, which emits so much smog into the sky, and saving that money for the poor by riding an old bike, you're going to prevent climate change. Regardless of what you do, millions of people continue to drive their cars daily without any care." The Reverend Mother got up to depart once more, and Father Juan closed the door behind her. Standing by the door, he observed the silhouette of the young Mexican man diligently shoveling snow in the parking lot. He sat down, reviewing his sermon for the midnight mass. However, he thought he heard footsteps in the rectory's backyard. He stopped reading and strained to listen, turning his head toward the border fort. He then hurried to the kitchen. Opening the back door without illuminating the kitchen, he cautiously surveyed the backyard. The shadow of a woman standing behind the door didn't startle him. He moved aside to let her enter. Under the dim yellow glow of the kitchen light bulb, he beheld a young girl holding a sleeping baby. The baby's pallid face spoke of the cold weather. Father Juan quickly closed the door, switched on the electric fireplace, and invited the stranger and her baby to sit on the sofa nearby. Father Juan inquired, "Would you like some noodles?" The young lady nodded, clearly exhausted. After a few steps, Father Juan halted abruptly. Both he and the girl locked eyes before she reluctantly lowered her gaze. Father Juan then proceeded to the kitchen, igniting the stove to boil water for a bowl of instant Nongshim noodles. Without turning around, he asked, "Do you like spicy noodles?" The girl continued to avoid eye contact and replied softly, "I eat spicy food every day." "What about the baby?" "I just fed him a bottle of milk I bought from the store. $10 for 3 bottles." The young girl quietly savored every bite of the generous portion of spicy noodles before her. Rising gracefully from her seat, she addressed the man before her with gratitude in her voice. "Thank you, Padre. Your kindness is truly remarkable. It's no wonder they call you a kind Padre." Father Juan responded with a subtle nod, offering no words in return. The girl hesitated, her request seemingly reluctant. May I ask for a favor?" Handing the baby over to him, Father Juan regarded her with a quizzical squint. "It's quite late already. Where do you intend to go?" Her face fell, her voice emanating from the depths of her throat, soft yet tinged with sharpness. "Where else? I'm without work. How can I provide for the baby's milk?" Furrowing her brow, the girl posed a direct question. "Is it all right?" Father Juan nodded swiftly, cradling the baby in his arms. "Absolutely. It's perfect, truly." He paused briefly before adding, "I have a favor to ask as well." Eagerly, the girl inquired, "What is it?" Father Juan checked the wall clock, tightening his lips thoughtfully. "Just one more hour until midnight mass. You may go wherever you please, but do return for the Christmas Vigil Mass. The girl slumped like a felled tree, her fingers covering her face as tears welled up. Her long, thick, curly hair cascaded around her, swaying in the air. Though her sobbing momentarily startled the baby, his tiny red lips formed an angelic smile. Patting the baby's shoulder, the parish priest also smiled. Tonight is Christmas Eve. Regardless of everything, we must light the candle to celebrate the birth. The girl ceased her tears and asked in astonishment, "Whose birth?" Father Juan raised his head, his footsteps echoing softly on the creaking wooden stairs as he climbed to the first floor. "Whose else? Tonight is Christmas Eve, have you forgotten?" Watching the priest ascend, the girl listened as he spoke. "Let the baby sleep first. I will see you at midnight. Oh, after Mass, I invite you to join the Reverend Mother and the new church maintenance worker for a Christmas dinner." Beyond the room's confines, snowflake fell gracefully, outlining the silhouette of the maintenance worker hunched over as he cleared the church's vast parking lot. Within the room, the glow of the fireplace cast a warm, reddish hue upon the face and lips of the Tijuana girl, who had already succumbed to a deep slumber on the sofa. In the Chula Vista church, the organ began to play softly the opening notes of the beloved carol, "Silent Night, Holy Night." Meanwhile, the Christmas bells in the church's tower chimed, their joyful peals resounding, dispelling the heavy gray sky laden with sorrow and tears. Ging gong, ging gong. The bells rang out, ushering in the spirit of joy and delight. Ging gong, ging gong. In the snow-covered desert town of Chula Vista, the countdown to midnight continued.